2 years ago, you literally could not get your hands on a home in these towns. And now, those same homes are sitting there, price dropped and ignored. Nobody's calling it a crash because it doesn't look like one from the outside. There's no single dramatic moment, just this slow, quiet reversal where towns that were once the hottest plays in Colorado mountain real estate turned into markets where even the realtors stopped returning calls. 8 towns, all of them genuinely beautiful. All of them with a story that started with bidding wars and ended somewhere very different. We're not here to say these places are done or that buying there was a catastrophic mistake. We're tracing the reversal, the point where momentum stopped and turned around, and what that pattern looks like when you see all 8 of them together. Number 8, Alma. Alma sits at 10,578 feet with around 300 full-time residents and holds the title of the highest incorporated town in the country. This sounds impressive until you consider what daily life there actually entails. During the pandemic, it made sense on paper. Close to Breckenridge, mountain scenery at a lower price point, and suddenly very attractive to remote workers who thought location no longer mattered. Prices climbed significantly through 2021. Investors were buying, Airbnb hosts were listing, and it genuinely looked like Alma had found its moment. Then rates moved. The remote work wave pulled back, and the limitations became harder to ignore. Prices dropped. Short-term rentals fell away, and the job situation, which was always mostly seasonal, started feeling more like a structural problem than a quirk. Alma became a speculator's market without ever becoming a genuine community anchor. And when the investment thesis stopped working, there wasn't enough underlying support to hold things steady. Number 7, Creede. Creede reinvented itself after its silver mining economy collapsed in the 1890s and built a second act around arts and culture, a summer repertory theater, galleries, genuine mountain character that attracted second home buyers and remote workers during the boom years. Prices jumped sharply between 2020 and 2022 and then corrected back down as investors stepped away and the underlying reality of the economy became more visible. The population has been declining for years, and the median resident age is now in the low 60s. The job market runs almost entirely on seasonal work and arts grants, which don't create the economic floor that sustains a market through a correction. And if you've ever made the drive out there, you understand the remoteness in a way that photos don't capture. Cell signal drops before you arrive, nothing is open late, and the nearest pharmacy is a long drive away. Creede didn't collapse, it just got quieter than the pitch promised. Number 6, Nerderland. Nerderland managed to become expensive without losing its identity as the kind of place people move to opt out of expensive things. And that tension is pretty much the whole story. It built its reputation over decades as a genuine counterculture hub, and that character attracted a specific kind of buyer. And then the pandemic sent a very different kind of buyer into the same market with a lot more capital. Median home prices are now pushing into territory that's completely disconnected from what most residents actually earn. The full-time rental market is extremely tight, and school enrollment has been declining as younger residents figure out they need to live somewhere they can actually afford. The thing that made Nerderland special was affordable, creative freedom, and now neither of those words applies the way they used to. Number 5, Grand Lake. The Grand Lake story starts not with a market trend, but with the East Troublesome Fire in October 2020, one of the fastest moving wildfires in Colorado's recorded history, which crossed the Continental Divide and destroyed over 360 homes while burning close to 200,000 acres. The ripple effects on the real estate market were immediate and lasting. Values dropped significantly in the years following, insurance premiums doubled for many homeowners, and buyers who had been eager before the fire stepped back from a market that now came with a risk profile that didn't exist before. Short-term rental revenue is down, building permits are stalled or prohibitively expensive, and some properties that survived the fire are sitting vacant because the conversation around buying there has fundamentally changed. Grand Lake is still genuinely beautiful, but the calculation that goes into buying there now includes variables that weren't on the spreadsheet 5 years ago. Number 4, Leadville. Leadville has a pattern that's been repeating itself for over a century, and the recent cycle is just the latest version of it. Close to Vail and Breckenridge at 10,152 feet, it always looks like the smart adjacent play. Prices are more reasonable, the character is more authentic, and the proximity to major resort economies seems like it should translate into sustained demand. And then the wave recedes. Tourism plateaus, infrastructure fails to scale, locals get priced out, investors move on, and the people who remain are holding a market that overshot what the local economy can actually support. The median home price dropped meaningfully between 2020 and 2024, unemployment sits above the state average, and the heating cost and snow removal reality of living at altitude with limited services doesn't always make it into the listing conversation. Leadville has real bones and a real community, but it keeps getting used as a testing ground for investment ideas that don't fully account for what sustained life there requires.
Number 3. Redcliffe.
Redcliffe is one of those places where the visual case for moving there is almost impossible to argue with, and then you start asking practical questions. Perched above the Eagle River between Vale and Leadville, it has extraordinary scenery at price points that looked like an obvious value during the remote work boom. Prices rose through 2021 and have since pulled back by roughly a quarter as the gap between what the place looks like and what it's like to actually live and work there became harder to paper over. The cell coverage is so unreliable that locals have a name for it. There's one road in and one road out that aren't both reliably passable in winter, and the internet infrastructure is not being actively fixed by anyone with the authority to fix it. Listings sit, the occasional property trades between retirees and developers with plans that keep getting pushed back, and Redcliffe waits in the kind of quiet that's less peaceful than it sounds. Number 2. Pagosa Springs. Pagosa Springs had a real window between 2019 and 2022 when everything aligned. Genuine scenery, the deepest geothermal hot spring system in the world, price points that looked reasonable next to Aspen, and a remote work wave that made 3 hours from a major city feel like a reasonable trade-off. Short-term rental listings tripled, second home buyers moved fast, and the momentum felt real because, for a stretch, it genuinely was. Then, rates moved, the remote work energy pulled back, and the structural limitations that were always there became more visible. The infrastructure that was supposed to catch up with demand never did. The local job market is thin and seasonal, and the buyers who were going to show up in year 3 of the boom simply didn't. The geothermal water is still there. The market, not so much.
Number 1. Marble.
Marble is the town that answers the question the whole list has been building toward, which is, what happens when a market mistakes beauty for economic stability? Around 140 permanent residents, more vacation homes than full-time residents, one small general store with flexible hours, hospital access that requires a significant drive under good conditions, and a more significant one when conditions aren't, and internet speeds that are the kind of thing you mention with quiet resignation. People bought for the vision of what life there could look like, and then encountered the logistics of what it actually involves. And a lot of them quietly decided those were different enough that leaving made more sense than staying. Marble didn't fail dramatically. It became a screensaver, genuinely beautiful, running in the background, not actually sustaining much. And that's the conclusion the whole countdown has been building toward without saying it directly. The boom in these towns wasn't the natural state of things that then got disrupted. It was the anomaly, a specific window created by low rates, remote work momentum, and the widespread belief that mountain scenery was itself a form of economic infrastructure. Those conditions are gone, and what remains is the underlying reality of what these markets look like without them. Markets go up on confidence and go quiet on hesitation, and the confidence that drove the Colorado mountain real estate boom was built on conditions that don't exist anymore. The mountains are still there, the views haven't changed, but the math that made buying into those views feel reasonable has shifted, and when the math changed, the market followed. If places this beautiful can cool off this fast, it's worth thinking seriously about where else that logic applies. I'll keep finding the world's hidden corners. You just have to click subscribe to come along.